What if I told you that the Tom Holland we see today, the global face of Spider-Man, one of the highest-paid actors in Hollywood, was once a boy so ashamed of how his brain worked, he spent years hiding a diagnosis from his own classmates? It sounds impossible, right? But the truth nobody really talks about is that Tom Holland's career was never built on talent alone. It was built on what I call the hidden advantage, the idea that every limitation he was handed became the exact tool he used to climb higher than anyone expected. This is the story of how he did it. At 7 years old, Tom Holland sat in a classroom in Kingston-upon-Thames, a quiet suburb of London, watching words swim across the page. Dyslexia. That was the diagnosis. And here's the psychology that matters. For a child, a diagnosis like that doesn't arrive as a medical term. It arrives as a verdict. You are different. You are behind. You are broken. His father, Dominic Holland, a comedian and writer who understood the particular sting of being underestimated, delivered a counter-verdict Tom has quoted ever since. You're not broken. You just learned differently. The classroom remained a battlefield. And so Tom Holland turned to the one language his body understood better than words: movement. His mother enrolled him in a hip-hop class at 9 years old. A choreographer named Lynn Page was watching. She saw precision in the way Tom moved, something that went far beyond any formal training. She told him to audition for Billy Elliot the musical. Now, you're probably thinking, a dyslexic kid from suburban London doing ballet? That's exactly the point. Tom auditioned for Billy Elliot at 10 years old. He didn't get the part. Here's what separates the people who walk away from the people who eventually make it. Tom Holland didn't leave. He trained for 2 more years. Ballet, tap, acrobatics, 8 disciplines, while his classmates played football and questioned, daily, why he was doing pirouettes. The bullying was relentless. Tom has described it in specific terms: mockery, social isolation, the daily calculation of whether to hide what he loved or stand behind it. He chose to stand behind it. At 12 years old, Tom Holland earned the title role of Billy Elliot, performing 8 shows a week at London's Victoria Palace Theatre in front of thousands of people per night. The West End is not a school play. It is one of the most demanding performance environments in the world. Tom Holland, at 12, was its lead. But the truth nobody really talks about is that his biggest test wasn't on that stage. It was what happened when the curtain came down. This is the beat most Tom Holland stories skip entirely, and it is the most important one. At 16, Tom made his film debut in The Impossible, a disaster film about survivors of the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Critics called his performance extraordinary. At 16, the momentum was real. And so, apparently, was the overconfidence. When Tom landed a role in Ron Howard's In the Heart of the Sea at 18, the meticulous preparation that had always been his foundation, the discipline of 8 shows a week, 2 years of training for a part he didn't initially get, he set it aside. The role stopped coming. His mother, Nicola Holland, delivered a verdict that very few parents would dare give a teenager with a West End credit: get a plan B. She enrolled him in a carpentry course. Tom Holland, the future Spider-Man, spent months learning to build furniture. And what that experience quietly demanded of him: humility, patience, the willingness to be a beginner again, recalibrated everything. In 2015, he walked into the most important audition of his career with a completely different mindset. Marvel and Sony were searching for the next Peter Parker. Hundreds of actors submitted audition tapes. Tom's was different from every single one. While other actors delivered their lines, Tom did backflips. This was not spontaneous. It was a calculated decision, made by someone who had studied Spider-Man's physicality with the same meticulousness he once brought to 8 shows a week in London's West End. Tom understood something the other actors didn't. The character's credibility depended on visible, genuine athleticism, not stunt work, not CGI. The actor himself, moving through space like someone who had been training since childhood. Because he had. At 19 years old, Tom Holland was announced as the new Spider-Man. The dyslexic kid from Surrey who had been bullied for dancing ballet had just landed the most coveted role in the history of superhero cinema. If Tom's story is hitting the way I think it is, hit subscribe. There are more stories exactly like this one coming. People who turned what looked like a disadvantage into something extraordinary. Now, back to where it gets interesting. By his early 20s, Tom Holland was one of the most recognized faces on Earth. And alongside the fame came something he hadn't anticipated: anxiety so persistent, so present, that it began to override everything else. His response was deliberate. He deleted Instagram. No announcement. No farewell post. At the exact moment when most actors would have been performing celebrity harder than ever, Tom Holland stepped back from it entirely. In 2024, he shared a second diagnosis: ADHD. The same neurological wiring that had made childhood so difficult, still present, just now operating on a global stage. And in the process, he was quietly building an empire, a production company, creative control over his own projects, a relationship with Zendaya, genuine, grounded, and deliberately kept out of the spectacle, a career built not on manufactured access, but on the work itself. The boy who learned carpentry between auditions was now constructing something the algorithm and the press cycle couldn't reach. Tom Holland's story is proof that our perceived limitations are never the whole story. That the hidden advantage, the thing you're most ashamed of, the diagnosis, the rejection, the carpentry course, can be exactly what prepares you for the room you're trying to enter. What's a challenge you've had to reframe as a strength in your own life? Share your story in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more hidden stories about the figures who shape our world.